It's funny how we take a steady flow of electricity completely for granted, right up until the moment it's gone. But when the power grid does fail, there's this hidden world of technology that just kicks into high gear to protect our most vital services. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on those unsung heroes of backup power.
I want you to picture this. A massive storm rolls through. And just like that, it plunges an entire city into darkness. Streetlights are out, homes go silent, everything just seems to grind to a halt. It's a familiar scene, and let's be honest, a little bit eerie, right? But then you look out the window, and in that sea of darkness, you notice something weird. Some buildings, like hospitals or maybe a big office tower, are still blazing with light. What's going on there? It's not magic. Nope. It's some seriously clever engineering at work. So, which places absolutely, positively cannot afford to lose power, not even for a minute? These are the places we call critical infrastructure, and they are truly the backbone of our modern world. Now, some of these are no-brainers, right? Of course, hospitals where patients are on life support need constant power. But then there are the ones you might not immediately think of. The massive data centers that basically run the internet, the 911 call centers getting help to people in crisis, and even the treatment plants that make sure our water is safe to drink. For these places, backup power isn't just a good idea, it's the law.
Okay, so how do they do it? The answer is backup generators. But here's the thing, not all generators are the same. They're usually designed for one of two very different jobs, and each one has its own strict set of rules.
So you've got two main flavors here. On one side, you have life safety systems. These are laser-focused on one thing and one thing only, protecting human lives. Think fire pumps, emergency lighting, that kind of stuff. On the other side, you've got systems for business continuity, and that's all about protecting the bottom line, making sure a company doesn't lose a ton of money or critical data when the lights go out. And this is where the rubber really meets the road. Check out the legal codes. A life safety generator, which falls under NEC Article 700, has to start and take the building's full emergency load in 10 seconds or less. Let me tell you, for a giant diesel engine, that is insanely fast. An optional standby generator has a little more breathing room. This one difference is huge because it dictates everything from how much fuel they have to keep on site to what they're even allowed to power.
All right, so the generator is sitting there, ready to go. But how does the building know when to switch from the grid to the generator without, blowing something up? For that, you need a device that acts as the brain of the whole operation.
Meet the automatic transfer switch, or ATS for short. This thing is the brain of the entire system. Its job sounds simple, but it is absolutely critical. It keeps an eye on the power coming in from the grid, and the very instant it senses a problem, it orchestrates a safe and totally seamless handover to the backup generator. So let's break down what happens second by second. First, the ATS senses that the grid voltage has dropped. Instantly, it fires off a start signal to the generator. As that big engine roars to life, the ATS is patiently waiting for it to get up to speed and produce a stable voltage. Then, and only then, does it make the switch. Now, this switching action follows a super important safety rule called break before make. All that fancy term means is that the ATS completely disconnects from the utility grid before it connects to the generator. And why does that matter so much? Well, it prevents the generator from accidentally sending massive amounts of power back out onto the grid, which could be incredibly dangerous, even deadly for the utility workers trying to fix the lines. It's a simple idea that saves lives. Okay, so we've talked about that 10-second start time for the really important generators. And yeah, 10 seconds is incredibly fast for a machine that big. But in the world of computers and modern electronics, it's an eternity. Look, for a fire pump or an emergency exit sign, a 10-second delay is no big deal. They can handle it, but some systems can't afford to be down for even a fraction of a second. So what about the really sensitive stuff? Think about a server farm processing millions of financial transactions a second. Or think about the delicate life support machines in an intensive care unit. How do they survive that 10-second gap? This is where our final team member comes in, the uninterruptible power supply, or UPS. You can think of it like a giant, super smart battery backup that sits between the wall and the critical gear. The millisecond the grid power fails, the UPS takes over instantly, providing perfect, clean power from its batteries. It's not designed to run for hours, just for a few minutes, just long enough to perfectly bridge that gap until the generator is up and running. So when you see the whole picture, it's not just one magic box. It's a coordinated team, 3 distinct components working in perfect harmony to make sure the power is truly, absolutely uninterrupted.
It really is a team effort, and here's the best way to think about it. You've got the generator, that's the muscle, providing the raw, long-term power. You've got the ATS, that's the brain, making all the smart, safe decisions about where the power comes from. And finally, you have the UPS, that's the bridge, providing that critical, instantaneous power to make sure nothing ever shuts down.
So next time you're somewhere important during a power outage and the lights flicker for just a split second before coming right back on, you'll know exactly what just happened. You'll know that this invisible team of engineering heroes just did its job flawlessly to save the day. And it kind of makes you think, doesn't it? What other hidden marvels of engineering are out there, humming away in the background, working 24/7 just to make sure our daily lives run smoothly without us ever giving them a second thought?